Hey guys, thanks for coming along with me a little later today on a Friday. It is 4 o'clock, 4:02. Took me a second. I know I'm a little bit more casual in my acid wash shirt. I am thinking about the weekend. It's been a long week. But thank you to everyone who's here and for all of you who have been supportive of me on this journey, building this channel and reporting out the stories that matter to me and to you guys as well. So I just want to take some questions from you. What would Helen Thomas do or say if she was a White House correspondent today? I think Helen would not stop asking questions about this. I don't think she would let the story go because obviously it reeks of corruption. And she had that, front row seat in the White House. Well, not exactly front row, but, second row. Eventually, I think they gave her a better spot, but in that briefing room. But yeah, she'd be on it. She'd be asking those questions repeatedly and wondering how the administration could, speak out of two ends of its mouth on this story. The problem is, I will say, and I don't know how Helen would have dealt with this, by the way, the fact that it's not just the Epstein story, it's so many other stories where you are seeing this kind of duplicity in terms of the information that's coming out. It's not consistent. It's not accurate. They say one thing and then they switch it. They blame the media, fake news. It's really hard to keep track of it all. And you could spend hours and days fact checking. I mean, the president is literally saying his approval ratings are in the 70%. Like, that's not true. I mean, maybe those are the numbers they give him. I mean, they did that to Biden too. They gave him fake numbers apparently. But yeah, this is a weird and scary time that we're in. I used to be in that briefing room as a White House correspondent for ABC, but I'm not anymore. So that was a smart question, conch fritters. Do you have to walk a tightrope with the administration? No, I don't think you have to walk a tightrope, but we are in scary times right now where journalists are just sued for anything. I mean, President Trump is suing major organizations for hundreds of millions of dollars. It's crazy. Alexander Dulforce, thank you for the support, by the way. Have you reached out to Joe Rogan? I have. I did. I sent an email and I wrote a long pitch and I showed them exactly what I thought I could do, what I could offer to his audience, which is a little different than ours, right? And they responded. Yeah, his producer, Matt, said, this is great, and said he will pass it on to Joe. So Joe may be reading it right now. Fingers crossed. Could be really big. So yeah, I do think it's important that not only I go on the show, but a survivor goes on the show too, so that we can really tell the story. What are the details and reasons for Virginia dropping the Alan Dershowitz case? I think that is a question for Alan Dershowitz. Yeah. He doesn't really say her name very often. Okay. Do you think Trump was hiding parts of the Epstein file at his homes at Mar-a-Lago and Bedminster? That's a really good question, but I have no evidence to tell you that. But yes, I mean, I don't know. It's a fascinating question. We don't know what the classified files necessarily were, but it is a good question. I doubt it if Pam Bondi found them and then told Trump, you're in the files, because that's what's been reported. So I don't know. It might be, that seems a little, but who knows? I mean, I don't have the answer to that, and I won't lie to you and say I do. Cyberweeze, thanks for the support. What are the survivors saying to you? Well, here's what the survivors are just saying to me, and I'm on a text chain with a bunch of them, Marika, Maria, and Annie, and they're just really worried that the train has left the station and that they have no control over what's going to happen next with Ghislaine Maxwell, which is just the tiniest shred of justice. They're sad that they're saying the case is closed and that the Johns and all the other co-conspirators who are involved are not going to face prosecution. But yeah, they feel like they're not being heard. They're not being considered. They're not even being asked, to testify. James Comer, head of the House Oversight Committee, has asked all of these former law enforcement officials, but not witnesses, to come and testify. What about the victims? And also, what about the other witnesses, like the houseman that I interviewed, or the pilot who took the stand for Ghislaine Maxwell, or the chef, Adam Perry Lang, who I spoke about in my piece that just went up about what Elon Musk promised Virginia. I would definitely check that one out, by the way, if you hadn't had a chance to. The victims were threatened. Victims are threatened all the time. People just forget about that. These are very powerful people involved, very powerful forces. They have their lawyers that pressure them to just take these settlements. And it always feels like blood money when they take it. And it always makes them feel terrible. It takes a lot of power and strength to stand up and tell your story. It's not just the trauma that you have to relive through, but then you are targeted. They go after you and you become a huge target. And I've seen it. I've seen it happen to Virginia. Even today, like I woke up to this story in House and Habit about how she's such a terrible human being. And I'm like, have you missed the plot in all of this? She was being trafficked as a teenager. Trafficked as a teenager. Has everyone missed the plot? And this is from someone who is saying free Ghislaine. Okay. Why don't the victims make their abusers' names public? Some of them do. So in Virginia's files, she did make the abusers' names public, but the abusers fought in the court to have their names redacted. They used their very powerful attorneys, some of the best defense attorneys in the world, to fight to make their names redacted. Yeah. That's how it works, guys. If you have money, you can fight to have your name no longer be in that. Okay. Is there any update on Ghislaine Maxwell and her new luxury camcorders? There is one update. She's not allowed to have an emotional support dog, which I'm pretty happy to say because why does she need emotional support after she literally destroyed the lives of so many children? If you go on Rogan, Clementine says, maybe try to stick to Trump and the victims and leave Trump out of it. Maybe. I think that's a great idea, Clementine. I don't actually think this is necessarily political. It's just the fact that it's his administration that's not releasing the files. That's what's made it political. Because actually, I think both sides would look really bad when all of the victims lists come out. So, yeah. What about Acosta? Alex Acosta. He's a guy who knows a lot. I mean, how was he in charge of a team that dropped the charges from 60 to 0? He knows a lot. But even at the state level, they know a lot. Barry Krisher was the state attorney, and his deputy, Lena Blavatnik, I always say her name wrong. They know everything. I mean, think about this. Tons of parents, one parent after another, went to the state police, to the Palm Beach police to report this man, one after another. And there's so many victims in this case, so many of them. And then yet the state attorney said, and the grand jury said, there are no victims here. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Stavros. I will continue to follow this story. The whole thing with victims being threatened too, like a lot of them worry about the status of their visas, being investigated by the, government, FBI investigations, IRS, just like their lives being made really, 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 really difficult. Defamation suits, all of it. I mean, that's the world we live in right now. It's actually frightening, to be honest. We're all being gagged, every single one of us right now. Have you ever wrote Ghislaine an email? I have, actually. I sent her an email through the system, the prison system, and I requested an interview, and I never heard back. I did do a really big podcast on her family called Power the Maxwells, and I wasn't exactly the most flattering portrait of her family. It's kind of so I think that might be why I never heard back, but she's never given an interview to anyone, really. I think she had one person talk to her for a very short period of time. Yoon says, do not grieve, find hope. Some people say that that's really hard for me. Megyn Kelly is suddenly forgetting about this. She defends Dershowitz. Yeah, right. Everything is all opportunistic, right? Let's not forget that Megyn Kelly was targeted by Trump, who said she had blood coming out of her. Yeah. And she felt threatened by him. She thought he poisoned her. She picked a side. Well, I hate that. Why do we have to pick sides? Why can't we just stand for what's true? If someone in the FBI sent you confidential Epstein documents, would you publish them? Yeah, probably. As long as I could confirm that they were accurate and real, for sure. Yeah. I'm not going to post fake documents. I still have my own reputation as a journalist too. But yeah, that'd be super helpful as I continue to work on this. Evening Tara from Scotland. Thanks, Ian. Commend you for your work. Also listen to the podcast you do with Sally Lockwood, with me being a foreign affairs nerd. Yeah, I do have another channel, guys, called State of the World with Sally Lockwood, formerly of Sky News. And we talk about the state of the world, what's going on. So you should definitely check that out. She's based in Dubai. She was an anchor for Sky News. I'm based here in New York and Washington. And obviously I was based in Brussels, so I know a lot about foreign affairs. But this story just keeps bringing me back to here. Kat says, I saw an interview with Ghislaine on a British show and she sounded like a psychopath. And her and the interviewer were painting her like a victim. Yeah, that's what I fear. I fear that they are going to paint her like a victim, but it's just not the case. Okay. And I actually have a piece coming out, a video coming out on Sunday. You guys should check out. Look out for it at 1 p.m. on Sunday. It's almost like documentary style. And I think it will help you understand the dark psychological profile of Ghislaine Maxwell. It really will. Seriously. Go on the Midas Touch podcast. I've never been invited on. I've been on with someone who's like affiliated with it. But yeah, I've never been invited on. But maybe if you guys talk to them, tell them to invite me on. But who knows? Fred says, your voice is different today. How come? Is that just the sound of tired? Why is TMZ Team Ghislaine? They must be getting information from her family. And that's how I interpret things when I see them. Like people, if you see a news agency sort of changing its script, they're getting information probably from that source to protect that source. But I can't say that for certain. It's just that that's been my experience as a journalist. Thanks, Blue Muse. Thanks for joining the team. How was Epstein connected to the circled names in the books? I thought Courtney Love being circled was strange. Yeah, Courtney Love was an acquaintance of his. Virginia Giuffre, remembered meeting her for sure, and more. Saw you on Don Lemon. Thanks, Casual Observer. Thanks for coming in. It's like saying Jeff Dahmer is a victim because of his shitty upbringing. That's true, Diego. You know, but I do think it's worth it to understand someone from a psychological perspective, because if people are like, how could she do this? Well, here's where she learned. I think it makes it easier for people to understand the full story. And that's why I'm telling you her full story. I did a lot of research. I also talked to her friends and her acquaintances over the years. I just probably did hundreds of interviews, obviously, on this topic. I have literally pounded the pavement, knocked on so many doors, so many closed doors, so many people telling me to call their lawyers. It was depressing and sad, but I did it with Virginia, and yeah, it was something. Yeah, I would love to go on these podcasts, MAGA podcasts, whatever. If they'll have me on, maybe Joe Rogan will. We'll see. But I also don't know, because at the same time, the administration wants Todd Blanche to go on Joe Rogan, the number 2 in the Justice Department, who was talking to Ghislaine Maxwell, so they can spin their narrative. By the way, thank you for acknowledging my nails. You know, I haven't gotten them done since my prom. Since I was like 17 years old, I haven't gotten fake nails done before. And I thought to myself, I am going to take care of myself and I'm going to do this. So yeah, for the first time, I was 37, about to turn 38, and I got my nails done. It feels really nice. I feel like a lady. I get it now. Have you interviewed Dershowitz? I have interviewed Dershowitz for the podcast Broken, Jeffrey Epstein. It would be impossible not to. I mean, he's suing a guy that won't serve him pierogies in Martha's Vineyard. This is a highly litigious person. Highly litigious. He just sues people for fun, but then drops it usually. That's the dirty little secret. I saw you talking to Don Lemon also, Tara. What the F? I think I can talk to either side. If I can talk to Joe Rogan, I can talk to someone in MAGA. Why can't I talk to Don Lemon? I'm a journalist. I talk to anyone who will hear me, unless I think their values are so wrong, like they're either, what they are putting out there is actually derogatory. But I will talk to people. I've even been on Megyn Kelly's show before. It's like a long time ago, obviously, but still, I mean, I don't necessarily, just because I talk to them doesn't mean I agree with everything they say and or do, or everyone they platform. But I do think at the end of the day, if we create these silos, information silos, that's how people don't know the full story. Does everyone agree with me? Or maybe they say, no, just talk to the same people over and over again. Why is DOJ and FBI even doing TV? They're not. They're all figuring out how to explain this. Oh, you were joking about the Don Lemon thing. Thanks, Clementine. But it did get into an interesting topic where people are often attacked. Like, I'll see people being like, how dare you appear on CNN? I'm like, I don't work for them. But if they're going to let me on and I can tell the story that I know of the survivors and what I know about Ghislaine and Epstein, and I'm reaching an audience, like, I'm going to talk to these people. CoffeeZilla, a lot of people have been talking about him. Yes, Alex Acosta has been subpoenaed, actually. I think he has. I believe, yeah, he has, by James Comer. Let me check that before give me 1 second, guys. Oh, he hasn't. Oh, well, you are so right. I don't know how that slipped through. I assume that he is the most important person to talk to. He created the sweetheart deal. I apologize. That just seemed to me like that would be egregious to not speak to him. But actually speak to his number 2, the deputy, Marie Villafania. She was the one who worked on pages and pages and like a book full of the crimes that Jeffrey Epstein committed. 60 charges. And it was dropped down to 0. And you want to know what Alex Acosta said? He said she was in over her skis. Isn't that kind of derogatory and sounds a little sexist, right? Yeah, that's what I thought too when I heard that. Thanks, Dunkrag. I hope I said your name right. I appreciate your support. Yeah, I'm not trying to rage. I'm just trying to get down to the few. I'm not trying to rage. I'm just trying to get down to the facts. Yes, Sam, I have heard specific names of the abusers. And I have to keep working on reporting that out. It's just the times we live in right now. It's crazy. And I am an independent journalist. So this is, it's scary, man. Thanks, Sanny. Yeah, Chris Cuomo. He asked me to come on his show. Honestly, I haven't had the energy to be able to go on all these shows and do the reporting and create videos and talk to you guys. I've got to really I really want to dig into this more, and to dig in, it takes time. And as much as I want to go on all these shows and be like, yeah, it's like, you gotta pick and choose so you can have time. But obviously I want one-on-one time with my community. That's why I'm here with you right now. Are you friends with Scott Jennings? like, I wouldn't say we like hang out and go to like picnics together or our families. I don't even know his wife or his family, but when I see him on set at CNN, like we're very friendly. He's a nice guy. Yeah, I want to like literally claw him sometimes on set, but you know, offset he's not bad. I think he's playing a character in the same way that Megyn Kelly is. I don't like that though. That's not me. If I have to if I have to play a part to succeed in this world of media, then it's not for me. Like, nope, sorry, pass. I'm not doing it. I'll just go do something else. There are so many other things in the world that you can do instead of play some part. Like, that's not what we're here for. Would you interview Ghislaine Maxwell? Yeah, I would interview her. I don't believe her, but it would be like a cross-examination, right? Because I know the other side really, really well. I have like encyclopedic knowledge of it. So yes, I would happily interview Ghislaine Maxwell, and it would happily feel like a cross-examination. She would have to answer a lot of difficult questions. Why isn't Katie Johnson's story getting more traction? I hear about this all the time. And I think the Katie Johnson story isn't getting more traction because the suit was dropped. So it's like, that's what makes it difficult. And I get why. I mean, there's pressure. Who knows if there was a deal behind the scenes, but like that is difficult. It happened around the election year. And it's just like, I don't know of anyone who's gotten in touch with her. I have friends that are who have tried to. And yeah, I think it's just difficult, right? And she's never come forward again, but maybe she will. Maybe she will. Maybe she'll see that it's valuable and that it's worth it. I mean, it takes a lot of courage. It takes so much courage. Half of the country is literally going to villainize you. That's why, I really admired Virginia too. So they really dragged her through the mud, especially the British press, and she still went out there and it was amazing. She still kept fighting, and people tear her down to this day. That House and Habit woman is tearing her down, forgetting that whatever you want to say about Virginia, recruiting and this and that, she was still a child sex trafficked in her teenage years. Hey, Karen, thanks for coming along. Yeah, the sworn testimony is really chilling in the Johnson case, Eric. It is, we live in a really scary world where really, really rich and powerful people get away with things. That was sort of that was what I learned from the Epstein story, sadly, from all the doors I knocked on, from the prosecutors I spoke to who worked with the prosecutors who worked on the deal. We live in a scary world where rich and powerful people get away with things and they intimidate other people. I remember Courtney Wild, one of the survivors, telling me that when she was trying to fight against Jeffrey Epstein in the sweetheart deal because they never informed them about this secret non-prosecution agreement that meant that all co-conspirators, named and unnamed, obviously this would include the Johns and Ghislaine Maxwell, that they never told the survivors about this. She fought and fought and fought to overturn this deal, citing her crime victims' rights. And during that time, PIs followed her around everywhere to intimidate her and literally almost drove her off the road. Could you imagine that? She was a young mother almost being driven off the road. That's the level of intimidation these women get when they try to fight back against the system. So have you been reporting on Trump's teen beauty pageant Tom Brennan acts? No, I haven't. Although I did watch some of those videos from Midas Touch and they are creepy. I've always thought beauty pageants are creepy. That's just me. I don't know. Parading girls around in bikinis and stuff. It's just, I'm not into the sexualization of women for men's pleasure and desire. I mean, some women, it's sexuality is an expression, but like, why are we doing it with children? Adults, fine. But a lot of them are really young adults. They're like late teens, like 18, 19, 20. Do they really know? They're not really sure what their place is in the world. So the only power they have is through their beauty. And I just think that's like, it's just an unfortunate place to be as a woman, to be young and to only have your beauty as your power and to have the men around you seeing that. And, and to kind of take advantage of that. Others would say it gives girls confidence and it helps them, with their poise and their grace, and they get scholarship. But I don't know, part of it, the whole thing kind of irks me. And a lot of girls got taken advantage of in these modeling situations for a long, long time, especially the ones that came from Eastern Europe and other countries. I mean, they're living out there away from their parents. They're surrounded by men. They have to go on these dates. It's almost like an escort service. I hope it's changed. But yeah, the whole modeling, beauty pageant industry is just very creepy to me. Toddlers in tiara, parading girls around. Like, I want young girls, young women to feel power for other things, not just how they look and how they feel. And like, honestly, I everyone like hates, like, has issues with their parents for whatever they do, but I will give my parents one thing that I have always admired in them, and that is that they always praise me for working hard at school and getting good grades. That was the thing they praised me for. I don't think they've once praised me for my appearance or how I looked. And they never kind of led me down that path of, trying to think that my life is dependent on a man or on the approval of men. And so I think like that has made me maybe who I am today, which is not conventional, but I'm kind of happy because I hate seeing so many of these girls getting wrapped up in these scary worlds, and they're basically stuck living off the approval of older, wealthier men who can take advantage of them. And like that, it's sad. Um, yeah. So thanks to my mom and dad, I gotta say, but I will say the story of these girls, these Epstein girls, so many of them, they came from broken homes, and they were actually like picked because of that. They were preyed on because of that. I mean, Virginia was preyed on because of that. She was first molested by a family friend, and so many of the others too. I mean, their parents, a lot of them were drug addicts. They lived on the other side of the tracks in trailers, and they knew that. They knew that these girls were easy prey. They were predators. Thanks for your support, Surf Live. There are my 2 cents. I'm telling you, there are probably more victims than we even know, because a lot of women don't wanna come out. They don't wanna talk about it. Don't want their husbands to know about it. They're embarrassed. They just wanna move on with their lives. Sexual assault, both for men and women, is one of those things that most people don't wanna, they put it in a box and they, like, never wanna touch it again. And it's too much. And so when everyone's like, "These women are money grubbers," or this and that, like, I'm telling you, most people just want to never think about it again. Um, Karen White, I was born in Palm Beach. This story makes me sick. Karen, I have a question for you if you're taking questions yourself. The one thing I always thought about the Epstein story was the idea of the hedges. And in Palm Beach, the hedges are just so tall. And that's what protects the houses and what happens inside of the houses. And I wondered if Epstein was able to carry out this sex trafficking operation for so long because of the hedges, because of the idea in Palm Beach that you could just keep to yourself, look the other way. These people are wealthy. We don't speak out against our own. Those are girls from the other side of the intercoastal. There's this bridge between Palm Beach and West Palm Beach, and West Palm Beach is the side that has less money. And there's Palm Beach Gardens, where a lot of these girls live. That was the high school he basically created a pyramid scheme in. But I wonder if there is like this feeling of, oh, well, whatever he's doing, we're just going to look the other way. And that's why it's not our daughters. It's anything that happens is behind the hedges. I mean, that was sort of what I took away from it when I was there. Yeah, she said, the wealth and hiding behind those hedges. You are spot on. Yeah, that's what I gathered from it. Listen, nobody's perfect, but this was obviously a huge scandal to happen in a town, by the way. Like, I've spent a lot of time in Palm Beach, by the way, because I covered President Trump as a White House correspondent. And when I was there, I remember, that I got to know people in the town. Like, I got to know a ton of people because I was a reporter and I had dinner at the places that they would eat at. And sometimes I'd meet some people there, and everybody knows each other. It's like a village. Everybody knows everybody's business. And that's why I find it so unsettling that he was able to do this for so long and no one did anything about it. Yeah. So with that, I'm going to leave this conversation. And yes, people knew for sure. Definitely the staffers. Definitely like who I spoke about in this latest video that you should check out on my page. You should learn more about his chef, his celebrity chef, who's besties with Jimmy Kimmel. And I want to thank everybody who came on. This was really, I love seeing the support from you all. And you guys are just killers, and I appreciate it. And I mean killers in a good way, that you care so much. And we're going to get down to the bottom of it. And thank you for your support and understanding how it does take a lot of time to do this kind of journalism. Thanks. Bye.